Madam Deputy Speaker. I am an optimist by nature, but whilst I do like an occasional glass of Prosecco or bottle of fruity cider, I have struggled to find that much to be optimistic about following last week's budget in terms of the impact it will have on my constituency. So it came as no surprise to me to read in the excellent Yorkshire Post this morning that in a survey conducted as part of the Hopeful Towns project by Hope Not Hate, who I've worked with previously to explore how we build strong, resilient and well-connected communities, 3/4 of the British public have no faith in the Prime Minister's promises on levelling up. Indeed, my constituents in Batley and Spen have a healthy scepticism about political promises generally. I would summarise their view of so-called levelling up as "we'll believe it when we see it." And I'm not sure that last week there was much to give them confidence that will be very much to see in the coming months. What they do see is roads badly in need of repair, high streets crying out for investment, and a desperate lack of amenities, especially for young people. Councils urgently need clarity about how services will be funded over the next 3 years, and the absence of a multi-year funding settlement means they still cannot plan effectively to meet the needs of our communities. This lack of forward planning by the government, on top of a decade of cuts to local authorities, means more frustration for them and a knock-on impact on the people they serve. We could see increases in council tax effectively forced on councils by this settlement. And as the Local Government Association have warned, the competitive bidding process for levelling up funding means that scarce council resources have been diverted at a time when local capacity continues to be stretched by multiple pressures in local areas. As others have quite rightly said, and I agree, my other key concerns about last week's announcements are the lack of funding for education, which we know is now only back to 2010 levels, meaning a lost decade for our children, our most precious resource. A lack of investment to deal with the immediate needs of the crisis in our social care system, which, along with the NHS, is on its knees, and a lack of support more broadly for our young people, who have had a big chunk of their lives lost to the pandemic, and many of whom are facing deeply concerning issues with mental health. Indeed, it's significant that 71% of people questioned in the Hopeful Towns survey were concerned about the lack of opportunities for young people. Which brings me to another report out today from the National Youth Agency. This survey, part funded by DCMS, found that children in affluent areas are twice as likely to have access to youth clubs and out-of-school activities than those living in poor areas. Youth groups across my constituency, from Birstall to Hightown, are working hard to support young people, but they're often run by volunteers who need greater support, funding and resources to continue their important work. This lack of facilities is, in my view, inextricably linked to the increased risk of young people being exploited by criminal gangs or simply getting diverted into antisocial behaviour because of boredom and a lack of meaningful ways of challenging their energies and frustrations. Let's be clear, this is not an excuse for crime or antisocial behaviour, but only the willfully ignorant would deny that it's a contributory factor. If we want strong communities where people are supported in working together to address the problems we face, then levelling up has to be more than just words in places like mine. And I'd like to end on a broader point. We've talked a lot in recent times about the need to restore trust in politics, to give the people that put us here faith that what we mean, what we say, and we say what we mean. So, fine-sounding words have to be translated into improvements in people's lives that they can see with their own eyes. I genuinely want levelling up to become a reality, and if it does, I'll be more than happy to say so. But for now, like my constituents, I'm still looking for the reality behind the budget headlines, and I'm struggling to find it.